Dear participants of this conference, let me sincerely begin in thanking the organizing for inviting me to the important timely gathering. And it's an honor to speak here in Baku. And probably I'm the only representative from Nordic countries. I'm from Sweden. But I also stand here as a friend of Azerbaijan and someone who has been trying through images and film build bridges between our people. The relationship between Sweden and Azerbaijan is deeper than many think. Baku's remarkable noble heritage is perhaps the most powerful symbol we have. When the Noble family created the Noble brand, the oil company, that was the initial investment for creating a Nobel Prize. It profited from the black gold here in Baku and celebrated science, literature, and peace. Villa Petrolia here in Baku is the only museum outside Norway and Sweden that exists in the world. Let's see. Is this one? Nope. What do you think? Oh, okay. The historical bridge is completed today by growing people-to-people contacts. According to the Swedish Institute, 2024 and 25 scholarship statistic, Azerbaijan again ranked the first in the world. 36 Azerbaijani students received Swedish government master scholarships. About 10% of this kind is done globally. That means that 36 young students, and men and women, are now building personal and professional bridges between our two countries. As a Swede, it makes me proud, and as a friend of Azerbaijan, it gives me hope. I myself is a bit of an outsider. I'm born in Denmark as a Swede, so I was grown up there as a Swede in Denmark, and then I moved to Sweden when I was 11, and then I became like the Dane in Sweden. So I always see myself like a slightly outsider. So few stories from the post-Soviet reach the region I'm in, especially from here from Caucasus. And it's never reached like a Western public. One of the few major exceptions is my inspiration, Reza Degati, who is actually right now in Karabakh documenting more stuff from the heritage of Azerbaijan. My first visit to Shusha, the cultural capital of Azerbaijan, took place in November 2021. The city was devastated, and many buildings were in ruins. Yet, among all the destruction, next to the statue of Azir Hayabeli, there was this purple, I don't know if you see it, but it was a crocus, a fragile little flower in the middle of that destruction. It captured my imagination. I learned that in the spring, another flower, an orchid, the Kharabulbud, had become like a symbol of the spirit of Karabakh and Azerbaijan's victory and liberation. Around the same time, I began to read the poetry of Natavan, her images of the nightingale and the rose. That reminded me of the fairy tales of Hans Christian Andersen, who used this motif in all his stories. So far, I had the privilege to present 4 films. And it was done under the umbrella of UNESCO. It was about Susha, the first film, that had the roles of a cradle of Azerbaijani music that links literature and mugam, and remarkable resilience. Through Azerbaijani and Scandinavian expert, we try to show that Shusha is not only a local national treasure, but also a part of the world heritage. The film has so far been screened in dozens of world countries. The second film was The Footstep of Noah, and it's built on the observation of Thor Heyerdahl that saw the rock carvings in Gobostan, and he related it to Scandinavia's rock carvings. The third film I made was The Footstep of Noah. It was about it was about Natshavan. And that's the place of the cradle of human civilization. So it was a project to celebrate the 100th year of the anniversary celebration of Natshavan's autonomous Republic of South Azerbaijan. Finally, I made a film about the connection with the great musician Vagif Mustafazadeh that was inspired by a Swedish jazz pianist. And this was just screened yesterday here in Baku. So all these projects share the same idea. It's to tell us how Azerbaijan deserves to be seen and heard in the world, and even in the Nordic countries. The theme of this conference, Culture, Heritage and Rights to Return, is, in my view, especially relevant at this moment. After more than 30 years, a conflict and confrontation in the South Caucasus is finally witnessing decisive steps towards peace. Recent diplomatic breakthroughs and the installing of peace agreement give reason to hope that peace will soon become a new normal in this region. From an artistic standpoint, it's something equally foundation right of people to tell their own stories in their own land. It's tragic to see so much of Azerbaijani cultural heritage is in ruins and destroyed. And maybe the new peace in South Caucasus is trying to open up a new way. In Stockholm, I had the privilege of learning from our Western Azerbaijani ambassador, Zaur Amadov, whose grandparents were forced to leave Garikisla, which is today's Tisania, in 1918. In his family tradition, music and cuisine, I felt how rich this culture is. I also assisted in screening the documentary Is about Western Azerbaijan, produced with support from Azerbaijan State Agency for Support to Non-Government Organization. The film combines historical research with the testimony of survivors and descendants. It's aimed not only to document what happened, but also prepares society, especially young people, for what the concept of return calls the great return as a filmmaker. And as a filmmaker, I was deeply moved. From my side, as a longtime friend of Azerbaijan culture, I feel responsibility to continue documenting the links between Scandinavia and Azerbaijan, but also increasingly to listen and convey the personal stories. I hope that one day I will be able to film not only ruined villages, but living streets, reopen mosques and schools, and families who have finally re-established their lives on their ancestral land. I'm convinced that with the current peace process, the longing of Western Azerbaijani to reunite with the past, their heritage and this history will be fulfilled. Let me conclude by expressing my deepest respect for the Western Azerbaijani community and for all those who work, often quietly, to document, preserve, and receive this heritage. As a filmmaker, I can offer camera and storytelling. You offer lived experience, memory, and courage. Together, I hope we can make sure that the world pays attention to the story and the future generation will know, if only as a tale of loss, but a story of return. I wish every success to the work of the conference and your naval efforts. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Michael.